Most Mazda owners think about spark plugs once, when they fail. The engine misfires. The check engine light comes on. They go to the shop. They pay $300 to $500 for a spark plug service. They drive away and forget about spark plugs for another 5 years. That's the average owner's relationship with spark plugs. But the owners with 250,000-mile Mazdas? The ones whose engines still pull strong and run smooth at odometer numbers that make mechanics raise their eyebrows. They think about spark plugs very differently. Because here's what most people don't understand. Spark plugs don't just ignite fuel. They're the single most direct window into your engine's combustion health. They reveal what's happening inside your cylinders in ways that no external inspection can match. And the way you choose, install, and maintain your spark plugs has a direct, measurable impact on how long your engine lasts. I've been working on Mazdas for years. I've seen engines with 300,000 miles that looked like they had 80,000, and I've seen engines with 80,000 miles that looked like they had 300,000. The difference? Combustion health. And spark plugs are at the center of it. Today I'm revealing the spark plug trick that adds 50,000 miles to any Mazda engine. This covers the right plugs, the right installation, the right reading of used plugs, and the critical steps that most mechanics skip that make all the difference. Let's get into it. Why spark plugs matter more than you think. Let me start with the fundamentals, because most people dramatically underestimate what spark plugs actually do. Yes, spark plugs ignite the air-fuel mixture. That's obvious. But here's what's less obvious. The quality of that ignition determines everything. A strong, precisely timed spark ignites the mixture completely and evenly. Complete combustion means all the fuel burns, maximum energy is extracted, combustion temperatures are controlled, carbon deposits are minimized. A weak, inconsistent spark leaves fuel partially unburned. Partially burned fuel doesn't just waste energy. It creates carbon deposits. It contaminates the oil with unburned hydrocarbons. It causes combustion temperatures to spike unevenly, stressing pistons and cylinder walls. This happens thousands of times per minute in every cylinder. At highway speeds, your Mazda's spark plugs fire approximately 2,500 times per minute per cylinder. With 4 cylinders, that's 10,000 spark events per minute. Over 50,000 miles at an average speed of 40 miles per hour, your plugs fire approximately 750 million times. 750 million ignition events, each one either burning fuel completely and efficiently or leaving partial combustion residue. Multiply the difference between good and bad combustion over 750 million events, and you understand why spark plug quality has such a massive impact on engine longevity. The correct plug for your Mazda, and why getting this wrong is expensive. Here's where most people make their first and biggest spark plug mistake. They walk into an auto parts store and say, "I need spark plugs for a 2019 Mazda CX-5. The counter person looks it up and hands them a set. Sometimes those are the right plugs. Sometimes they're not. And the wrong plugs, even slightly wrong plugs, cause real damage over time. Here's what you need to match exactly. Heat range. This is the most critical specification. The heat range determines how quickly the plug transfers heat from the electrode tip to the cylinder head. A plug that's too cold doesn't reach self-cleaning temperature. Carbon builds up on the electrode. Eventually, the carbon bridges the gap and causes the plug to misfire constantly. A plug that's too hot causes the electrode to become a source of heat itself, igniting the fuel before the spark fires. This is pre-ignition. It causes detonation. It damages pistons. Mazda's factory heat range specification exists for a precise reason. Match it exactly. Electrode material. Modern Mazdas use iridium or platinum-tipped plugs from the factory. These materials maintain their precise electrode geometry for tens of thousands of miles. Cheaper copper plugs wear faster, the gap increases, and spark quality degrades well before the recommended interval. Don't downgrade from the factory electrode material to save $10. Gap specification. The gap between the center electrode and the ground electrode determines the size and energy of the spark. Too narrow, weak spark, incomplete combustion. Too wide, spark can't jump the gap under high compression, causing misfires. Mazda Skyactiv engines are particularly sensitive to gap specification because of their high 13:1 compression ratio. The factory gap spec for most Skyactiv engines is 0.039 to 0.043 inches. Check every plug with a gap tool before installation. Even new OEM plugs occasionally come slightly out of spec. The exact plugs I recommend for most Mazda Skyactiv engines: NG, KILZKAR7B11S, or the Denso equivalent specified for your exact model. Pull the factory plug from your engine. Read the part number stamped on it. Match that number exactly. Don't trust fits your vehicle searches alone. Verify the part number. The pre-installation trick almost nobody does. Here's the first part of the spark plug trick that adds mileage to your engine. Before you install new spark plugs, there's a preparation step that dramatically improves their performance and makes them much easier to remove at the next service. Anti-seize and dielectric grease. The professional secret: Mazda Skyactiv engines have aluminum cylinder heads. Aluminum is softer than the steel of the spark plug threads. Over 60,000 to 100,000 miles, those steel plug threads can corrode into the aluminum head. When it's time to remove them, you need significant force. That force can snap the plug, leaving the broken electrode end inside the cylinder head. Removing a broken spark plug from an aluminum head is a nightmare job. At a shop, it can cost $500 to $1,500. The prevention? A tiny amount of anti-seize compound on the plug threads. Not a lot, just a thin coat on the first few threads. This prevents the steel to aluminum corrosion that causes plugs to seize. At the next change, they come out with normal hand pressure instead of requiring breakover bars and prayers. Apply dielectric grease to the inside of the ignition coil boot. The rubber boot that connects the ignition coil to the spark plug can fuse to the ceramic insulator over time. A small amount of dielectric grease on the inside of the boot prevents this fusion. Removing a fused coil boot tears the coil insulation, causing misfires. A new ignition coil costs $80 to $150 each. A tube of dielectric grease costs $6 and lasts for multiple service intervals. Before we continue, if you want the complete spark plug service guide along with every other maintenance procedure that maximizes Mazda engine longevity, click the link in the description to download your 500,000-mile car maintenance blueprint. It covers the exact specifications for every Mazda model and the full maintenance schedule that takes your engine to 500,000 miles. Let's keep going. The torque secret that prevents engine damage. Here's the installation step that even experienced DIY mechanics get wrong. Spark plug torque. Too loose, the plug vibrates and can back out under engine operation. Exhaust gases escape past the threads. The plug overheats. Catastrophic engine damage. Too tight. You crack the ceramic insulator, creating a path for spark to ground out against the cylinder head instead of jumping the gap. Permanent misfire. Cylinder head damage in severe cases. Most people tighten spark plugs by feel. Snug plus a little more. That's not good enough in an aluminum head engine. The correct torque procedure for Mazda Skyactiv engines. Thread the plug in by hand until it seats. Never use the ratchet to thread it in. Hand only. With the gasket making contact, torque to exactly 11 to 15 foot-pounds using a torque wrench. If you don't have a torque wrench, this is the one tool worth buying. A basic 3/8 drive torque wrench costs $25 to $40 and you'll use it for years. After torquing, mark the plug with a paint pen and verify it hasn't moved 30 days later. This confirmation step catches rare cases where a plug doesn't seat properly. The socket secret. Always use a spark plug socket with a rubber insert that holds the plug during installation and removal. A drop spark plug has its electrode tip cracked on impact with the engine bay far more often than you'd think. Cracked ceramic equals immediate misfire equals immediate replacement. Reading: used spark plugs, the diagnostic gold mine. Here's the most valuable and most underused part of every spark plug change: reading the used plugs. The condition of your removed spark plugs tells you more about your engine's internal health than most $200 diagnostic scans. This is the trick that catches problems worth thousands of dollars before they become catastrophic failures. Normal plug, light tan, or gray electrode tip. This is what you want to see. Proper combustion, correct heat range, correct fuel mixture. The plug did its job perfectly. Your engine is healthy. Sooty black deposits, rich running condition. Heavy black carbon on the electrode means the engine is running too rich. Too much fuel, not enough air. Causes: stuck open injector, failed oxygen sensor, air-fuel ratio sensor issue, or a clogged air filter. If caught now, $50 to $200 sensor replacement. If ignored, damaged catalytic converter, $1,200 to $2,000. Fouled injectors, $400 to $800. Oil fouling, wet, oily plug. Oil on the spark plug means oil is entering the combustion chamber. Causes: worn piston rings, failed valve seals, or a damaged cylinder wall. If caught early, valve seal replacement, $400 to $800. If ignored, complete engine failure. White or blistered electrode, overheating. A white, blistered, or melted electrode means the plug is running too hot. Causes: incorrect heat range, lean fuel mixture, ignition timing issue, or coolant leak into the combustion chamber. This is an emergency. Stop driving and diagnose immediately. Continued operation destroys pistons rapidly. Worn electrode with large gap. Normal wear at end of service life. The electrode has simply worn down over the service interval. No damage indicated. This is what plugs should look like when they come out at the correct replacement interval. Comparing all 4 plugs. After reading each plug, compare them all together. They should all look the same. If one plug looks dramatically different from the others, that specific cylinder has an issue. A single oily plug, while the other 3 are normal, that cylinder has a failing valve seal or worn ring. A single fouled plug while the others are clean. That injector is malfunctioning. Reading plugs by individual cylinder turns a routine service into a cylinder-by-cylinder engine health audit. If you're enjoying this video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. This helps me bring you more honest car advice for my Mazda guys. The service interval secret. Here's where most people waste significant money and engine life. They either change plugs too early, wasting money, or too late, damaging the engine. Here's the correct interval strategy for Mazda Skyactiv engines. Standard iridium/platinum plugs every 60,000 miles. This is the factory recommendation, and it's correct for normal driving conditions. If you do significant short trip driving, under 10 miles per trip regularly, every 45,000 miles. Short trips don't allow complete combustion. Partial burn residue accumulates on electrodes faster. If you've done an ECU tune or run the engine at consistently high RPM every 40,000 miles, higher combustion temperatures and pressures accelerate electrode wear. Never go beyond 80,000 miles regardless of how the car feels. The plug might seem fine. The gap has widened beyond spec, but not enough to cause obvious misfires yet. But the ignition system is working harder to fire across that wider gap. The ignition coils are under stress. The ECU is compensating. Fuel economy is quietly suffering. Carbon deposits are slowly building. You're spending extra fuel and wearing out $150 ignition coils to avoid buying $40 spark plugs. It's false economy. The post-installation verification. Here's the final step of the trick that most DIY mechanics completely skip. After installing new spark plugs and reassembling everything, There's a verification sequence that confirms everything is working correctly before you drive normally. Step 1. Start the engine and listen for exactly 60 seconds. Any ticking, clicking, or irregular idle sounds indicate a plug that's not seated properly, a coil boot that isn't fully connected, or a cross-threaded plug. Catch it now, not 50 miles down the road. Step 2. Check for misfire codes immediately. Plug your OBD2 scanner in and check for any pending codes within the first mile of driving. P0300, random misfire. P0301 through P0304, cylinder-specific misfire, indicate an installation problem. Find it and fix it now, before it damages the catalytic converter. Step 3. The full temperature test drive. Drive for 15 minutes, including some moderate highway speed. After returning, let the engine cool for 30 minutes, then remove one plug to check its condition. A properly seating plug after its first heat cycle will show a clean, uniform appearance. If it looks wet with fuel, you have a seating or gap issue. Step 4. Re-torque check at 500 miles. After 500 miles, re-verify the torque on each plug. Aluminum heads can relax slightly after the first heat cycles. This final check ensures everything remains properly seated for the next 60,000 miles. And if you want the complete maintenance protocol that combines spark plug care with every other service that maximizes Mazda engine longevity, grab your 500,000-mile car maintenance blueprint from the link in the description. It's the complete guide to keeping your engine running strong for decades. The bottom line. Spark plugs are not a set-it-and-forget-it item. They're a diagnostic tool, an engine health indicator, and a critical component that directly impacts how long your engine lasts. Use the exact factory-specified plug. Verify the gap with a tool. Apply anti-seize to the threads. Apply dielectric grease to the coil boot. Torque to spec with an actual torque wrench. Read the used plugs when you remove them. They're telling you what's happening inside your engine. Service them at the correct interval. Not too early, never too late. Follow the post-installation verification sequence. Done correctly, this complete spark plug service adds measurably more life to your Mazda's engine by ensuring perfect combustion at every one of those 750 million ignition events. That's what adds 50,000 miles, not a single dramatic fix, but 750 million small ones, each burning just a little cleaner, each putting just a little less stress on your pistons, rings, and cylinder wall. Your Mazda's engine is designed to last. Give it the spark it deserves. If you found these tips helpful, be sure to watch this next video as we're sharing insider tips to help you cut repair costs and keep your car running like new.